All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network with me, your host, Josh Reeves. We are back in the saddle here with you. This is Wednesday, June the 17th, 2015. And we are back here broadcasting. It's good to be back with you. We have been away for a bit, and I've been trying to get this back up and running and going and everything. And it's been a long, hard road, but we're back here with you. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you're listening to us on our brand new 128K internet stream, welcome. You might be hearing this broadcast there, or perhaps in our new podcast version, or our old school original archives. Those are still up there and available at my website. They were down for a bit, but if you had a membership, that's still valid. You can still purchase memberships and whatnot there at my website. So we're going to be having the show available on in a multitude of varieties and ways, a lot more than we used to in the past, because there's, the technology has changed, and there are a lot of different ways people can listen now, and some of these available options of getting the show out there, have the ability to get the stuff on, devices, phones, tablets, that kind of thing, and others don't. So what I've kind of had to do here now is adjust how we're putting this stuff out so that we can reach, max amount of people. People can listen to it how they want to listen to it and all that jazz. So we'll be offering the show in a variety of ways. We have the stream back up now. The 128K audio stream, we have that back up stream. We'll be playing, older shows, mostly those, until we get, more recent shows up, and those will be on there various different times of days and whatnot. And then we'll have classic shows and some of the book readings and stuff. That stuff's been playing on there now. We've had the stream up now for about 24 hours. And I wanted to have this all up and running at the first of the month, but it's, I in the past, I've rushed stuff and gotten up here, and then you have to end up doing troubleshooting and all that jazz on the air. And to me, it's a lot more fun when you can just get into the show and not have to worry about doing tech support shit on air. That's no fun. Nobody wants to do that. So here we are. We're back. We'll be getting into a variety of different topics. I've got a lot to talk about. I don't know if I'll be able to have enough air, really, to expound on all the things I want to expound on right now. But that's good. That's why I like taking breaks. And, well, I say taking a break. It's not like I've been taking a break. I've been fucking working my ass off, just not in the radio broadcasting way. Because really, with all this other stuff, it has become increasingly difficult over the past couple of years to do regular radio broadcasts. But I just, there's something about it just makes me not be able to to not do it. I have to do it, and I enjoy doing it, and people out there enjoy it, and people send me tons of emails saying they feel like a void is in their life whenever they're able to not listen. So I appreciate that for everybody out there. And we hope that you'll continue to support all of our future endeavors here at the Global Reality. We're going to be continuing to push forward like we always do, and continue bringing you the best stuff we can. And I tell you what, there is, to me, in my opinion right now, there is no worse time than right now to A, be into this type of research, and B, be doing this type of research and work. It's very disheartening. I know a lot of you out there have to be aware of this and have to know about this and have noticed this for quite some time now. And I guess I have too. I've for years I've been exposing the frauds and the phonies and the the people who obviously are working for the other side. But I in all my years of being involved in this stuff, and all my years of researching and paying attention to this stuff, I have to tell you, I have never in my life seen a worse time to be a fan of this stuff and to be and not only be a fan of this type of stuff, but to also, take it seriously and be a researcher about it. This is one of the worst times I've ever seen. It's like the fucking Dark Ages right now. Why is that? You say, well, for some of you, this needs no explanation. For some of you, this is common knowledge. But it's just, there is so much disinformation going on out there right now in almost every topic you can name. It seems like all I ever see anymore, and especially posted on, social media and whatnot, it seems like I'm going to say a good, and this may even be conservative, I'm going to say that I see a good 90% of the stuff that I see that goes around these days is absolute disinfo. There is so much horse shit going around. And, I used to really I've kind of laid off on people just because it doesn't do any good, but I always have, friends or acquaintances or whatever, people who, no matter, what I tell them or no matter what I've proven in my films, like the Secret Right films, or no matter how much we uncover, there are some people who just still buy into the Alex Jones paradigm and buy into that whole thing. And it's, they don't ever understand when you try to steer them the right way on it. And I've come to, let that go. I used to just hammer people, I just, if they wouldn't listen to me, I would fucking, not be friends with them anymore. Not talk to them anymore. So as an experiment, since I was that way for so long, as an experiment over the past couple of years, I've kind of stopped doing that as much. And I'll tell you, what I've noticed since I've stopped doing that as much, makes me think that I was right all along, because all I see from the people that I sort of laid off on, all I've continued to see is they always seem to be the people that listen to Alex Jones and still like him and all this stuff and don't think anything bad about him, always are the same exact people who I always see posting the most disinformation articles there are. For instance, I know a guy and he's that way. And I've known him for, 6 or 7 years. And he just won't listen to anything that I have to say and is not willing to. He just loves Alex Jones. And all the time, I see this guy posting. Anytime I see a disinfo article posted, it's from this guy. No, that's not true. Not just from him, but I see a lot of them. But this guy, it's like everything this guy posts. And I see that from a lot of, because the thing about it is when you don't do your own thinking and you don't do your own research and you're constantly following what some figurehead or whoever is telling you to do, you don't gain the discernment ability that you have when you've done your own work and your own research and put in your own time sifting through this stuff. And that's one of the things that makes what I do with a radio show and whatnot all that more difficult. Because I don't and never have considered myself any kind of a figurehead for anything or, a guru or anything. I'm just somebody who started doing this because for the same motivations as I continue to do it today. And that is most of what I hear out there and see out there is bad information or disinformation or scaremongering or flat out lies or misinformation or contorted information. And I felt originally when I first started doing radio in 2007, that was my first motivation was, okay, there's so much crap out there. I feel like, I could really throw my hat in the ring and help try to combat this. I know I've got a lot. At the time, I thought I had a lot of information. I'd been researching for, 15 years or whatever at that point, I guess. And I burned through everything I knew the first month I was on air. Literally. After I did a month of shows, I realized that I had gone through everything that I'd already had, but since I had also right at that same time period come into the information about the Council for National Policy stuff, that right on time. It was exactly what I needed at that moment, to be honest with you. That the fact that the first interview I ever did with Canadian diplomat professor, former Canadian diplomat Professor Peter Dale Scott, it was just perfect synchronicity, perfect timing. It was exactly what I needed, because then it gave me the ability to be able to have, new blood and new stuff to look into, and that sustained me, and that's what I've always continued to do. Is I always have a new project or a new piece of information or a new area of focus that I didn't know about, that I start pulling back the curtain on, and lo and behold, all this stuff comes out, and so I feel the need to collate that and put it together and hopefully try to get it out there to all you guys. So, as far as that's concerned, nothing's changed. But boy, I tell you what, there is, you have to gain discernment. And I see fewer and fewer people who have discernment, because you get into this stuff, you start finding out about this, and some of this stuff is so incredible, is so unbelievable sounding, and then you find out and you research it and it's true and it blows your mind. But what happens with a lot of people is once they get to that point, they then fall for any crazy thing. That's, and I see so many people do it, and that's very dangerous. Because once you believe, the official story, what we were told on everything from JFK to the moon to 9/11 to whatever it may be is all bullshit, and you hear another story that may sound, somewhat credible or believable, but you don't end up doing your due diligence and researching and looking at all the facts and looking to where these statements first came from. That's an important thing. Tracing back when you hear something, trace back where it came from. As many of you know, one of my major things that I'm into, besides doing this, is I'm into geology and rocks and all that stuff, and I got into that just as a byproduct of my research into the rock wall. But that's not necessarily true. I was into it a whole bunch when I was a kid, from a very, very early age on into my teenage years, and then kind of, fell out of it. But got more interested in, sex, drugs, and rock and roll and that whole thing when I was, teenager and early 20s and whatnot, like you do, right? But when I started getting into the rock wall research, that pushed me back towards the gem and mineral thing. And so a few years ago, I decided, to try and get some more funds going for our work. And we make a little bit on the rocks here and there, but not enough really to keep us going at all. But if you're into crystals and you're into rocks and that kind of stuff, hey, hit me up. We've got a Facebook page, Let There Be Rocks. Look us up on Facebook. We've got a lot of stuff there for sale, and if you don't see something you like there, hey, hit me up. I can get you anything you want. Crystals. If you need something for certain metaphysical uses, healing or whatever, money manifestation, that kind of thing, I can definitely hook you up. But when I got into excuse me. When I got into that end of it, where was I going with this? I had somewhere I was going with this. Give me a minute. Lost my train of thought here. Well, where was I mentioning? Why was I mentioning the rock and crystal thing? Oh, I remember why now. I was talking about the disinformation articles and stuff that I see people post. So, I have a serious knowledge about that kind of stuff, just because it's something I've taken very seriously and gotten really into and whatnot. And I saw this person post an article a couple of weeks ago that said THC had been found on some ancient meteorite that came to Earth. And I just knew immediately this was bullshit. And then I go look it up, and no, it's real, that's absolutely real. I go and look it up, and trace back the source. And you go to the website, there's a disclaimer on there that says this is, basically this is all bullshit. This is all fake stories, and there are tons of those. There are tons of fake news websites and everything else out there now. And so my point is that, people wonder why I, for years, have been trying to expose these various, just shills and liars and everything else, disinformation artists. And that is because, they are there to serve a purpose. They are there so that real individuals, people like me, people that, that are not trying to be figureheads or be gurus or anything else, but are strictly trying to be a voice of the people that can try to inform the people about some of the missing pieces of this stuff they don't know. That's all I've ever considered my role or job in this. I have a great recall and memorization of a lot of this information. So that's an indispensable tool when you're trying to piece together information, because I can look at something, I can call back, a news story or a tidbit of info that I researched years ago and go look that up and verify that, and then I find out that coalesces with something other I'm looking into now. And then I do my best to try to bring that to the people. But it is very, very difficult and just very disheartening now to try to do this type of work and not only be taken seriously, and it's also very difficult to even get it out there to people. To get it out there and find an audience, that's the other difficult thing. But there's so much bad information that's gone around. People have been burned so many times by disinfo, scaremongering, overhyping. And it, like I said, for years, it's the boy that cried wolf syndrome. And Alex Jones is one of the biggest boys that has cried wolf that's ever been. And that's dangerous, because when there's an actual real threat, people are just going to go, oh, well, it's, that's probably just blowing smoke again. They're not going to be ready, and that's when a lot of people are going to get killed. So I find it harder and harder as the days go by to be involved with this kind of work and research. I'm not saying I'm going to quit. I'll never quit. I've always said that, but it gets more, it should be, as long as I've been doing this now, and as much as I've achieved at doing this, it should be getting easier, but it's not getting easier, it's getting harder. That's my point. It's getting more and more difficult. Yeah, but I feel the need to be here and to continue to do this. I feel like I have a necessary role in doing this, because there just aren't, there's nobody out there like me anymore, folks, but period. I'm not tooting my own horn at all, but there is so much disinformation out there, but I end up getting lost in all the BS. It's just really, really, really disheartening. Because, I'm a fan of this type of stuff. I want there to be other people out there that are doing good research and putting out good information, and they're just not anymore. I constantly am searching for somebody else out there, that's doing good work, and somebody else that I can, I'm a fan. I don't want to just do my own stuff. I want to hear other people's stuff too, And it's very difficult to find people that either A, aren't locked in some bullshit belief system that's built by a phony paradigm and bad information, or B, people that are just parroting stuff they've heard other people say, or just strictly just constantly covering disinformation stories and believing it to be true. So I will tell you that, as I'm glad to be back here and I'm glad to be back up and running and broadcasting, doing all that, it's the desire and the want to do it is, it gets harder and harder because sometimes you just wonder, is this even worth it? But then when I see the fact that as I said, that there are just so many other people out there just putting out bad stuff, I feel like it's kind of my job, my role to continue to expose what I can and what is out there. There's just so much. The newest one that I'm hearing, this, because every other year, it's like ever since the 2012 thing went bust, when you had people like David Wilcock. I mean, that guy, I can't even believe. And did you guys ever, I don't know if you guys noticed this, because I thought he would have been laughed out of town and ran out on a fucking rail. Because he was one of the biggest, prior to 2012, he was one of the biggest scaremongers on 2012. I mean, he went on every radio show and video and TV and everything else saying, the world was going to end 100%. He was one of the main fearmongers, and I was hoping we weren't ever going to see that guy again after the 2012 thing was a bust. And boy, lo and behold, that guy is on more shows, History Channel and everything else. Now, I see that guy in more stuff now than I did prior to the 2012. And it should be the other way around. So what's that tell you? When you see something like that, I think that's pretty clear who somebody like that is working for. But to your average person, hungry for these facts, see, this has been going on for a long time. There's this the subconscious awakening that's been going on this planet, over the past decade, and people are waking up both consciously and subconsciously. And the elite know this full well. That's why they've, over the past 10 years, been putting so many more shows about conspiracies and things that were just taboo when I first started on air in 2007. Now they have History Channel shows about it. And people who are hungry for this type of information can just go turn on the television. And for a lot of people, that's all the information that they need on a subject. But why are these shows being put on? Why now? Why weren't there an abundance of these shows 10, 15, 20 years ago? Why so many more now? Because they know people are awakening to this stuff, both consciously and subconsciously. And what I mean by subconsciously is there are people who are waking up to this stuff and they don't even know they're waking up to it. You understand what I mean? Subconsciously, they're awakening to this. So in order to combat that, they are creating many more disinformation outlets, many more disinformation type of shows and everything else, in order to muddy the waters for the mass amounts of people that are now paying attention for the first time. And that's something, as I've been working on this Spellcasters film that I'm working on now, that's, I'm putting this together and I'm looking around wondering why no one has ever made a documentary like this before. I mean, why? Sometimes I wonder when I'm working on this, why is this up to me? Why am I the first person that's done this? Especially the Spellcasters. If this stuff needs, this is definitely my most important work. This stuff's got to be out there. So I just feel compelled to continue to, I guess, sift through what's real factual information and stuff that you need to be concerned with and what isn't. And now that I've been doing this is my 8th year, now that I've been doing this for so long, and since so much of what I've done over this past many years has been really about that, I've just kind of come to accept that that's my role. That's what I'm here to do. So that's what I'm going to continue to do here with the radio show now that we're back and we're broadcasting and everything else. I don't know. I just felt compelled to kind of start the show out tonight with a decree of intent, I suppose, just to let you know where I'm at, where I stand in all this, and what I plan on trying to do, which again is, I guess, is not really any different from what I've always done, but it feels more urgent now. Do you know what I mean? It feels like it's more important now than it ever has been, even though, like I said, it's becoming increasingly more difficult because the well has been poisoned and everything else. But because I've been doing this for as long as I have, it gives me a leg up because I'm established and people know who I am, and I'll continue to find new people all the time. So anyway, my website where this broadcast originates from is www.theglobalreality.com. That's theglobalreality.com. We don't have outside funding here. I don't have funding from private interest groups or anything else. And we're going to be putting out a lot of these shows and stuff for free. We've gone back to our monthly. We used to have chip-in banners, and then the chip-in banner company went out of business, and we didn't have those anymore. So it was become very difficult for people to know how to support our work. But now we've gone back. We've found a solution for that. So now we have our up there at my website. We have our monthly operating cost goal. We have the one for June up there right now. So if you're listening to this upon the free podcast that we're going to have, it'll be lower quality than what the our paid archives, which are still the Podbean one that we had up there. We'll still have those. So if you already have an account or you've had an account, that'll still be good. You'll still be able to get the 128K archives. They're going to be significantly lower quality on the free podcast that we'll do daily. But my point is that now that we're going to be offering so much of the show out there, it was for a long time I didn't, I just locked it down and quit offering anything of this show for free. But since we're going to be giving people the ability to hear the show now anytime, 100% for free if you want that option, we need you every month to help us reach our fundraising goal that we have on our monthly chip-in banner thing. It's up there at my website right now, theglobalreality.com. You'll see a little banner. It's on the right-hand side of the page there. And we also have our one up there for our rock wall project, which we are still planning on getting back up and running with this year. We had started and we got really close to getting this thing off the ground. And then the first of the year, we had snow all the way up until March. We literally got ice and snow in the 1st of March. We had a couple of weeks break in there. We started regrouping, trying to get stuff back together, and we've been hit. I'm sure, as most of you know, here in Texas, especially where I live, we've been hit with floods. Now we've had this tropical storm this week. I'm actually glad we did not get this dig off the ground when we thought we would, because it would have been a disaster. People probably would have gotten killed. We would have had a total partial collapse of the wall on us. It's really kind of worked out good, but we're going to be shooting to try to get that back up and running in the fall. So you can also support our efforts for that there. We also have a donate button there, the subscription to the archives. And we also have the Amazon.com wish list. If you don't want to make a cash donation, you can go there and get some of our wish list. Right now, really what we need is soundtrack gear and, better cameras, all that good stuff to make music for the films and whatnot. And so you can go to our Amazon.com wish list there, and you just pick something off, and it's discreet and easy. You pay for it, and it automatically sends it to me, and that's that. So you can do that there as well at my website, theglobalreality.com. But again, we're going to be trying this. I had done it this way for many years, and it worked for a couple of years. But then I had to resort to doing the show, where you can only hear it if you bought a membership to the archives. So we're trying to, in the sake of being able to reach as many people as possible, not have to do that again. But like I said, we're still going to offer that 128K archives. If you buy a Podbean subscription there, it's only like $10 a month, or you can buy a longer one. You can even buy a lifetime one for $1,000, and you'll have unlimited 128K archives for life. But we're going to continue to have that, just for the people that want the show and high quality and whatnot. But every month we're just going to need to meet our goal. Our goal is up there. So we have 18 days left to go, and we need to reach the 100% amount of that goal on the little donate banner there at the right side of the page at my website, theglobalreality.com. The latest disinformation thing that I've seen going around has been concerning this supposed killer asteroid that's coming in September, allegedly. And this kind of thing is right in my wheelhouse. I've talked about this many times. I've talked about, and I've found this, during my research into these Lost Secrets of Ancient America films that I've been making over the past several years. I found unequivocally that most of the ancient sites around the planet, and specifically ones here in the United States, all point to a specific cyclical events that happen in cyclical nature, planetary events, booms and busts. And I've stated unequivocally that I think a lot of these ancient sites are pointing in the direction of these cyclical events that happen, where you have great cataclysms on the earth, the global reset button, as some people have called it. So killer asteroids and all that stuff are, that kind of stuff, it's right up my wheelhouse. It's part of the pantheon of things that I research personally. It's something I am interested in. So with that said, I have to say unequivocally that this, I just don't believe it for a second. I think it's total hogwash. I think it's a total hoax. And I believe that this is exactly what Wernher von Braun described. They are trying to, there's really a heavy campaign going on right now to get people scared of killer asteroids and, extinction level events from space rocks. And the elite are doing this to justify ending space-based weapons treaty bans. It gives them the ability to be able to test space-based weapons and use those, offensive and defensive. Von Braun talked about that extensively, about how they'd sell it to us with asteroids first, and then once the hysteria ended from that, they'd sell it to us under the guise of keeping away killer aliens. And it's the same kind of thing. Anytime I look at any of these stories that sound unbelievable to me, that I hear people getting all in a tizzy about, the first thing I always do is go and do my due diligence and try to trace back what the original source of this information or this story was. And as I went and did that with this, it always went back to these same type of unreliable, fake news looking sources. And people have now tried to tie in, everything now, since the Jade Helm thing has come out, everything now that happens, the conspiracy theorist people are trying to tie to that. And it's hilarious to me, because now they're trying to tie the Jade Helm thing to this September killer asteroid thing, saying that, that's what the Jade Helm thing is. Oh, they're preparing for that because they know it's coming. But yet, if you go read the articles that these people are putting out where they're saying this, they also say that this asteroid is a killer asteroid. that's going to wipe out everything on the planet. So which one is it? If the elite know that an asteroid's going to wipe out everything on the planet come September, why the fuck would they be doing any sort of preparations for it if there's going to be people wiped out? Why would they be setting up FEMA camps and, have guys parachuting out of planes, paratroopers, with machine guns and stuff? Well, what the fuck good is that going to do if the whole planet's going to be wiped out anyway? Riddle me that, Batman. So, look, if there's something credible to this, and you think there is credible evidence to support this, I'd like to see it. Email it to me. But I so far have seen nothing that makes me believe this is any kind of a real thing. Of course, we know back in March they had this drill concerning what would happen, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. And of course, they're making contingencies for this. Again, we know that the contingencies, they have to have an ability. People always ask me, well, if it's true about these space-based weapons, what is their purpose? What do they want to do? Well, the whole thing and why the asteroid thing and the alien thing are important, why von Braun was trying to get that out to people, was that this is what's going to give them the ability to finally have total control on the hearts and minds of everybody. You understand, they want to explain away science, explain away religion, explain away conspiracy theories, everything permanently. They want to create a world where, that's why they're slowly trying to acclimate us to the whole alien thing. They want to wrap up all the questions of science, all the questions of religion into their neat little explanation that everybody on Earth buys, to the point where it's so final, there would be no way anyone in their right mind could even question the validity of it. That's the ultimate plan, where everything is homogenized, everybody across, there is no difference in belief across the planet, concerning science or religion or spirituality, things, nothing at all. Everything is explained. There is no questions anymore. And now we live in under one united world where everyone thinks the same way, everyone believes the same exact thing. There's no reason to not believe. We now have everything explained. This is their agenda with having space-based weapons and the whole fear-mongering of asteroids and fear-mongering of alien invasion, everything else. Because once they're through fighting the phony alien force, do you think they're just going to dismantle the space-based weapons and take them away after that? No, that's what von Braun was trying to warn us about. They've been planning this for years. They're going to, at that point, turn them back around on us on the surface. And if you try to get off the plantation or, they'll just zap you from space. And it's blown my mind over the past several years. They've started putting this stuff in Hollywood movies recently, like the Captain America Winter Soldier movie that came out last year. All about this global space-based weapon system that can just target individuals across the planet and wipe them out. Samuel L. Jackson was in 2 movies about that. He was in that one last year, and then this year he was in The Kingsman. And in The Kingsman, he plays this bad guy who sort of has that same agenda. So they're starting to put this stuff into the films as fiction because it mirrors what they're trying to do in reality. They always do this. And that's what they're attempting to do, is to get us all on board with these space-based weapons, believing that we need them to keep us safe from asteroids and to keep us safe from extraterrestrials. And people have speculated about them faking an alien invasion for years and the rest of it. But that's, and they've constantly associated that with von Braun, but that's not really what von Braun said. He didn't say they were going to stage an alien invasion. People have put those words into von Braun's mouth and said that that's what he said, but that's not actually what he said. He didn't actually say they stage an alien invasion. That whole idea of staging an alien invasion serves the disinformation artists like Alex Jones and others who have tried for years to downplay the whole alien thing, even being real, again and again. Von Braun was explicit. He said they're going to tell us that non-hostile aliens are actually hostile, when in reality they're here to help us. But that doesn't matter. They're going to tell us they're hostile, get us on board with weaponizing space, so that these extraterrestrials who are actually here to help us don't threaten the agendas of the global government. They get us to believing they're a threat. We weaponize space to wipe them out. And then they gain total control after that. But just like they needed us to acquiesce to the police state and acquiesce to the tracking surveillance grid after 9/11, and to give up our rights to travel, and they've restricted our rights to travel. The stuff you encounter, roadblocks and whatever else may be on road trips, and the TSA. As it's been said by scholars and writers out there, the term engineering consent. They have to find a way to engineer our consent for these things. So with that said, if you believe that it's possible that they would engineer our consent for an extraterrestrial threat, you would have to believe that it's possible, at least, that they could attempt to engineer our consent for space-based weapons regarding this supposed killer asteroid that is supposed to hit Earth in September. So what I mean by that is that I believe it's possible. This is the most important part. I believe that it's possible that they could fake an asteroid threat, or an asteroid impact even, using top secret space-based weapons, using stuff that's already up there that's been hidden from the public, because we know there's, China's got a secret space program, Russia's got a secret space program, America's got a secret space program, Japan's got a secret space program. I believe that it's very possible that they could fake an impact event in September, hit a country or hit a city, or whatever it may be, or hit something in the ocean. That way there's no evidence. It causes a big tsunami and kills millions of people or something. I think it's possible they could engineer some asteroid strike and get us to believe that one actually happened, so that all the people of the world would get behind this planetary defense system, space-based weapons that would then be used against the supposed alien threat that they will roll out on us after that. So as far as I'm concerned, this whole debacle of what's going on, and everybody talking about the possibility of this global planetary destruction, extinction level event, asteroid hitting in September. My opinion is, if there's anything to worry about it's about it at all, it's that. And I really do believe they may attempt to do that. And if you think that's beyond the realm of possibility of these people, folks, you just are not as informed as you think you are. I mean, need I mention 9/11? Need I mention the phony moon landings? Need I mention JFK? They have gotten us to believe the big lie time and again. And I believe that some sort of event to try to sell us on the big lie yet again is imminent. Whether that's going to be the phony asteroid or whatever it may be, I don't know. But I believe something like that, whatever it may be, is imminent. And again, it's going to be very, very important that you all be vigilant and not believe the official story of what they tell us as it's happening. And sometimes that can be very difficult. You know, I give it up to Bill Cooper for, on the day of 9/11, I mean, the shit's still going down, and this guy is on air telling people, whatever you do, whatever you think about this, whatever you believe, whatever happens, do not believe a thing that Alex Jones says about it. And when you listen to him say this, and then you think about the information that was out there and available at that time, Alex Jones wasn't even that big of a name at that point. Really, he was really an up-and-comer at that point. And it really sounded like Bill Cooper, when he says that, like he had some information or knowledge that the rest of us just didn't have. The conviction in which he made that statement, you know, just hours after the first plane hit. I mean, that's pretty compelling, folks. And that's what I'm saying here. You know, if they tell us, if you hear tomorrow that a big asteroid's about to hit us or whatever, don't necessarily take it as the truth. If you hear aliens are going to invade next week, don't necessarily take it as the truth. Do your due diligence. Look at the facts. Consider all the angles. This mindset of not swallowing what we're being sold, not buying what we're being sold through the media and through the powers that be, this is a key thing that everyone out there needs to know about and needs to understand and needs to acclimate themselves to. And the reason it's so important is that if we can get as many people as possible to at least gain that discernment and have that ability to not take what they're being told about these things as the whole truth, we have more of the ability for these people to, because I've said for years that how this stuff is finally going to get exposed is they're going to fuck up big in broad daylight. They're going to get cocky. They're going to get overzealous. And one of these black op things, these 9/11 type things, you know, what they're going to do, whether it's fake a alien invasion or fake a asteroid hitting, whatever it may be, that eventually we're going to get to a point where there are going to be enough people alive on this planet all at one time who are all going to have their bullshit detectors on high alert, and they're going to do something in broad daylight, and everybody's going to see it for the fraud it is, and it's going to cause a major upheaval. And so that's why it's important to not just believe people. You know, the alternative media has become just as dangerous as the mainstream media. And again, this is another one of my reasons for my reluctance of even being involved in doing this anymore, folks. Because I don't want to be thrown out with the baby in the bathwater. I don't want to be just discounted and discredited and thrown out with everybody else because everybody else that's out there are a bunch of fucking clowns. And that's why it's harder and harder for me to want to even, you know, put my good name on this, on something. That's why I don't interview people anymore. You know, I used to interview people. There's nobody I want to interview. I mean, last year, I don't know if you guys know this or not. I don't know if I mentioned this on air. He did it on his Facebook page last year, but Michael Tassarian, last year, Michael Tassarian called me one of the greatest researchers of our time on his Facebook page last year. And I'm not saying that because I'm proud of it, and or saying it just to toot my own horn or anything. I say it and bring it up because I think it's sad. I mean, I work my ass off for this. I do believe I am a fucking great researcher because I put in the time, and I have put in the time in it for years and years and years. I've dedicated my life to it. So that kind of comment is, I believe, I earned that comment. But at the same time, it makes me sad because there should be 10 other names before mine, and there isn't. And why isn't that? Because everybody is just following what they're told. We need more people who are doing their own homework and their own research and then putting that out there. But people are just getting bogged down in so much of this disinfo, they don't know what's what. I've been getting a lot of questions lately about the flat Earth stuff. That's become a big thing now. As I said before, I always go and look and see anytime these topics come up and they're controversial, whatever, and it's something that's never been on my radar before. I always go and look to see, again, the source of this stuff, who it's coming from. And I have to say that, I don't, let me put it to you like this. The flat Earth stuff, I think I may have talked about this on one of the YouTube videos, but I'll say it again because it's worth saying. It's just one of those topics where, if you believe in the flat Earth thing and that's your thing and that's your gig and that's your research and that's what you want to get into and that's what you want to put out there, then, hey, look, let me be the first one to tell you, by all means, go get it. Do it. Dedicate yourself to it. Research it. Find the information. Find the facts. Make a movie like I do. Put this stuff together. Put it out there. I'll watch it. Send it to me. By all means, do the research. But the problem is that when you look at the source of it, I started noticing that the source of this stuff is the same exact people, same names I recognize, Killtown and those type of people, the same names that brought out the whole no plane theory on 9/11 stuff are now the same people who are now bringing out this flat Earth stuff. And it's fascinating to me because both of these topics are the exact same in many ways. And that the people who have been putting this stuff out there have been treating it the same way. For years, the people who have been into the no plane theory have really had this attitude of, if you don't believe their no plane theory, then you're the enemy and you believe the enemy and you're with the enemy and this, that, and the other. And that's a very hostile attitude that a lot of disinfo people will always have. And I've stated from the very beginning, I'm the same way. I feel the same way about the flat Earth thing as I do about the no plane theory stuff. It's possible. Both of these are possible. Do I believe both of them to be 100% factual and accurate? No, because I don't believe that I've personally seen enough information to support that. But I'm not going to discount it and say that it's absolutely not true. I won't sit here and tell you the flat Earth stuff's absolutely not true or the no plane theory stuff is absolutely not true, because I don't know. I don't have a definitive answer. And I question the people who flat out deny these topics. I question them as much as I question the people who are so adamant about these topics that, if you even have doubt a little bit about it, you're with them. So that's what's concerned me about this thing. I don't know. I think the flat Earth thing is possible, but I don't think there's enough information out there available, and I question the motives of the people who are putting it out there. That's the biggest. The same thing with the no plane thing, and also the same thing with what happened at the Pentagon. These are things that are so cloudy, and nobody really has the total answer. But oftentimes, what they do is they just get people in a hamster wheel. Circular arguments and things that never have any conclusion, because there's so much uncertainty there and so much unknown that it just keeps people constantly wondering what's happening, and they never really get anywhere with the information. They never look at anything else. That was the whole reason why I got out of the 9/11 truth movement back in 2007. Because I just got sick of the whole thing where if it's not about 9/11, then we can't talk about it. People getting mad because you want to talk about some, deeper elements that concern the players of 9/11 and other world events, no matter what they may be. And to see people create this sort of walled castle of their own mind where you have to be thinking inside the box of 9/11 constantly, and if you're not, then you're not one of us. And that's the same thing I see with a lot of this flat earth and no plane stuff, is they take this attitude of, well, if you don't think exactly like we think about this, then there was a great thing like that in South Park one time, the little goth kids. They were like, you can be a part of our nonconformist club as long as you listen to the same kind of music that we listen to and dress the same as we do. Oh, that's real nonconformist, isn't it? Now, you can be in our nonconformist club as long as you think is just like we do and you act just like we do and everything else. And I've seen that so many times happen within the truth movement and the conspiracy movements and all this stuff. Instead of it being an open-ended discussion to where everybody brings all the information that's available to the table, and then from that information decides what the best hypothesis is. Instead of it happening like that, people build these little cultures around a theory, and then they bully people to get on board with their ideology. And I have no time or use for that. I think it's toxic. And that's what I've seen out of flat earth people, and that's what I've seen out of no plane people, and that's what I've seen out of Jew people. So anytime you see that, it's a good sign that you've got somebody with an agenda on your hands. I mean, plain and simple. I tell you, I've felt like they've been really having where I live in the crosshairs right now. My anxiety level now is just through the roof because, it's got to be the 33rd parallel thing. It's got, anytime they start doing stuff around this area, that's immediately what it makes me think of. And gosh, we had the Muhammad cartoon shooting thing happen here in Garland. We've had all these floods and all this rain. And then we had the pool incident a week or two ago in McKinney, Texas. I used to live in McKinney, Texas. And that whole thing was completely blown out of proportion. And, then we had another thing happen last week in Dallas. Another obvious staged incident where some guy in an armored vehicle supposedly started shooting at the Dallas police headquarters and supposedly had bombs and all this stuff. It was a total fabricated hoax. Though I doubt the thing ever even happened. There was no body ever found because they ended up blowing up the vehicle with the guy's body still in it after they shot him with a .50 caliber weapon. I mean, let me tell you something. The Dallas cops, they don't just deploy .50 caliber weapons. The military was involved with this for some reason. I believe it was definitely a training exercise. But it's funny because this supposed armored van that this guy had, he bought it from the Dallas police. Supposedly the story is he bought it from the Dallas SWAT team like 6 months ago on eBay or something. So it was one of their exact vehicles that they used in this thing. And, supposedly he had these bombs, these bags and bombs, and they evacuated all the apartments around the area. I know people that live over there in those lofts and stuff. I spent a lot of time over there at different events and whatnot. They've got a music venue over there now. It used to be a real shitty, shady part of town over there. It's gotten a little bit better in that area. It's right on the edge of like southeast Dallas. South Dallas, if you're not aware, is like fucking Compton in Big D, like our version of Compton. There's parts of it where the cops won't come if they're called. Yeah. But, we've just had all this emphasis and all this stuff happening. These crazy things, these, shooters and bombings and people going nuts. And the other day I saw one of those heart meter websites just before this tropical storm started coming in. It shows the concentrations of HAARP. And I think the purple bands were where the most highest concentration of HAARP being focused on is right now. And of course, it's Texas. I mean, they are really, I think, trying to spark or kick off something here. And again, with us being, the 33rd degree parallel running right through here, that would make total sense, because that's one of those type of, signature calling card things they like to do when they're kicking off some black operation. So I tell you what, it's just it's an insane time right now. And there, again, as I've been talking about all night here, there's just so much disinfo and so much BS. It just becomes more and more difficult every day, but also tells me why I've got to continue doing this. And like I said, I'm working on the Spellcasters film now. I'm hoping to have that done in the next month or two. We still need about $500-600 to finish that. If you can help us out with that, please go to the donate button on my website, make a contribution if you can. Anything. We just need as much support right now as we can financially. And it's all going to pay off. I mean, I've got this Hollywood Scientology Channel 5 UK show that's going to be coming out later in the year that I got interviewed for. And they're going to flash my website up on the screen with my name, folks. Tens of millions of people are going to see this. Which puts the ability for this Spellcasters film to, this film could make a ton of money. It could put us in a position where we never even have to have donations or anything ever again. So that's why it's important that I'm getting this done right now. And hopefully it'll be a stepping stone for us to be able to finish our Rockwell project, finish up Lost Secrets Volume 3, and continue doing that. I'm just not going to... I'm not going to do one project anymore. I'm going to be constantly doing multiple things at once. I'm going to be bouncing back and forth from the Lost Secret stuff, the Rockwell stuff, to the various other projects. I'm also going to be making a Volume 2 later in a few years or so, or another year, I don't know when. Whenever I get time after the Spellcasters 1 is done, I'm going to do a Volume 2. It won't be a multiple, it'll just be a 2-volume set. But Volume 2 will be on all the stuff around musicians and musician deaths and that kind of thing. So the first one will be about Hollywood and movies and TV shows and mind control and who started Hollywood and who controls it now, and the Scientology, where will be all the stuff that you didn't see on Scientology and all these other movies you'll be seeing in this one. It's going to be unbelievable, folks, but we got to have some cash in here to finish this thing. And so then after that, again, I'm just going to be bouncing around and I just want to do as many. There's so many films I want to make. There's so much of this stuff I want to get out there. And as I said, we continue to go up and up and up. And this UK TV thing that I'm going to be on is really going to be a big... It's going to... More people are going to know about me than they ever have now. It's going to be that big. So I'm definitely excited about that. It's something I think I've needed. Because all the time, people are like, wow, how come I haven't heard about you until now? When I first went on Coast to Coast AM, that's what they all said. All the producers over there were like, how come we're just now hearing about you? I'm like, well, they want to keep me suppressed. They don't want me out there because they know that I can't be bought. They know that I'm not going to spread disinfo. And that makes me a threat. It's always made me a threat. It made me a threat in the past when I was on other radio networks when I first started going, and I could never figure out why it was. Well, I know why it was now, because I refuse to do what somebody tells me to do. I used to have, I can't even believe this, folks, but until I started my own network, every radio network I was on about 5 different ones. Every one of them had people trying to tell me what I could and couldn't talk about. And, anything concerning this stuff, you should never have anybody telling you, oh, you can't look into that, you can't talk about that. That's why I mentioned the thing about the no plane thing and the um, the flat Earth stuff. I may not choose to believe that stuff 100% until I see more credible facts and details and information. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to tell somebody not to look into it. Again, knock yourself out. We need people passionate about different topics and taking different topics and making that topic their pet project and working on that, and it's very fulfilling. You'll end up learning so much more than you ever dreamed possible just by committing yourself to one topic like that. You'll find stuff about many other topics you never even thought you were going to find. I promise you, it happens to me every time I make a film, and that's one of the most fulfilling things about doing it. That's why I continue to do it, because every time I make a film and I'm done with a film, I feel it's just like a video game. I feel like I level up every time. Every time I'm done with a film and I'm making it, I level up and I feel like I'm at another level of understanding that I wasn't at before I did it. And that's exactly what this is done. But speaking of the rock star deaths and whatnot, there's a great new documentary out about Kurt Cobain called Soaked in Bleach. It's up on Vimeo now. Do a search for that. I think it's like $14 to buy the stream or download or whatever. Worth every penny. Now, they don't cover everything. Nobody has. And this is another subject. I'm going to be making a little mini documentary to cover some of this stuff. But boy, I tell you what, Courtney Love tried to have this film. She sent out cease and desist letters to all the theaters before the movie even came out. Like, she hadn't even seen the movie. So really, supposedly, she didn't even know what was really in it. Yet she's sending out cease and desist letters, and that's because if this film goes viral, she's going to get lynched. I mean, if you had any doubts about her involvement with the death of Kurt Cobain, it's just sick, man. But the big thing that goes unmentioned is also her role in the death of Kristen Paff, who was the bass player for her band Hole, who died 2 months after Kurt Cobain under similar circumstances. And no one's ever been allowed to see we've seen the death certificates, but we've never seen the coroner reports for Cobain and Kristen Paff's autopsy reports. They've never been available to the public, which is interesting considering the guy that did the autopsies in both cases used to be a former boyfriend of Courtney Love. Also, the guy who last saw Kurt Cobain, who was at his house, also another former boyfriend. Combine that with the fact that they found a backpack 2 days before his body was found. The wife of Danny Goldberg, who signed Nirvana, for Geffen Records, she found a backpack at her house that Courtney had left there on the 6th, 2 days before Cobain's body was found. And she found a cheat sheet, a practice sheet that matched Kurt's handwriting, where Courtney had been practicing, making the fake suicide. It's absolutely sick. But my point is, and I'll be talking about this in the Spellcasters 2 film when I get into the music stuff. I believe 100% she was a mind control victim from very early on. I believe that she was programmed from a very early age to do this, to what she did to Kurt Cobain, to somebody. I mean, at the time they didn't know it was going to be him, but I mean, she there's all kinds of proof of it. Her dad was a CIA agent. He was the manager for Grateful Dead for a period of time. He was the supplier of LSD to the Grateful Dead through the CIA. He used to give Courtney LSD when she was 6 years old. He went on the record and talked about a bunch of papers and writing that she had stored at his house that she threw away, and he went and retrieved them. And in there was a poem that she wrote back in the 1980s, where Courtney Love describes in detail how when she gets older, she's going to find and marry a rich rock star and then kill him and take all his money. I mean, it's just, this stuff, folks, is sick. And the mind control and the ties to Scientology. Of course, Courtney has ties to Scientology as well. She thanks their Narconon in one of her albums. She was a Scientologist for a period of time. There's just the direct link, and that's what will be shown in Spellcasters 1, is the direct link between MK Ultra, the OTO, Scientology and all of it. And also how it relates to the truth movement, people involved in that, because I found a lot of connections in that. If you've seen my Jim Mars preview section that's up on YouTube, you'll know that. But that's just one part. That's not even all the info that's going to be in this film. It's going to be bombshell. Well, it's really good to be back. I'm really enjoying just being back to shoot the shit with you guys and talk about this stuff, and feeling like I have an ear. You know, and I know a lot of you out there that write emails and stuff. Sometimes that's all you want. You just want an ear. You know, it's very difficult to find like-minded people who are into this stuff. And so when I get up here and I talk about it and you guys listen to it, it definitely makes me feel as if you're lending me your ear. So I thank you for that. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition. My name is Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you, and we'll see you next time for the show. You guys have a great one. Take care.